Hey guys, welcome back. As we discussed last week, the market was likely going to reject this trend line, came back to retest demand. And after a very strong Friday, we're right back against the trend line, right? So, in other words, we ended up putting in an inside week kind of candle, right? And not an inside week exactly. It did break out a little bit before it sold off, but yeah, almost an inside week. So pretty much we didn't really do much last week. But again, once again, we zoom out, we're still kind of at a critical juncture wherein this could, an inside week could provide enough volatility for a breakout, right? You know that the market does have a gap to fill at 421. But one thing that does concern me is the fact that dollar is on support, right? And dollar has been in an extended downturn for almost 3 months. So, dollar bouncing could put a little bit of, some downward pressure on SPX. And as discussed last week, we could potentially, right, though we came down to test demand and bounced off, we could again come down a little lower, right, have a lower test of demand before the market actually takes off. That should, right, give the dollar enough time to go retest a prior level, right, before it comes down. So it's kind of the broader idea behind why I think the trend line may get rejected, but that's not to say, dollar can't break down. Of course it can, but confirmation break over the trend line and the dollar breakdown should, make for a very nice long. You still need confirmation across both ends. And the wicks, we discussed how this was a very important trend line, right, acting as support. And you can see that we have, stayed sideways. So essentially what ended up happening was an inside week, right? So which means this week should have pronounced volatility, whether wicks breaks out or breaks down. I think this week can kind of make a decision. And with Microsoft and Tesla and all the big tech earnings coming up, will be interesting to see whether we actually just stay range bound while everything reports, or one of this fuels an upside or downside rally. So yeah, the wicks is kind of in an interesting spot. We discussed the 10-year as well last year. I mean, sorry, not last year, last week, and you can clearly see that we've pretty much sold off, right? We bounced off the 200-day, and this is kind of a sideways channel, right? So 10-year bouncing up to 3.7 again could be another, catalyst for a little downward pressure on equities, right? I'm still bullish, like bigger picture. I do think that at some point in the next couple of months, this will break out. We will rally at least till 4,300, right? Maybe April, May. Like timeline is bullish till we hit 4,300 before it comes down, but that doesn't mean, it's kind of blind bullishness. I'm still, considering dollars on support and Wix is on support, I'm still a little suspicious in the fact that I do think that as long as the dollar is supported at 104.4, I do think that this will likely go up to reject and come back down, right? Before, this rally takes off. But again, that's just my opinion. I have nothing to back it. So yeah, if we do break out and the dollar breaks down, I'm more than willing to trade long. So yeah, it's kind of my thought on kind of the market right now. With that being said, we can go over this week's watch list. And the first one is FSLR. FSLR has obviously broken out of this channel, right? But I can, count 5 waves to the upside. So at minimum, I do think that even if I'm bullish, right, at minimum, we will probably come down to test this rising 200-day at 146, right? So yeah, any bonds will probably get shorted. So that's the reason that puts below 165 and my target as, 155, 150, and then 145. So kind of have FSLR puts on this week's watch list. We have discussed TAN as an ETF, right? Wherein it is against, crucial resistance. It's failed one more time, right? So if it fails to break out, then most solar stocks, right, likely come back to the bottom of this channel. And NE is another good stock that we've discussed in the past, right? And it actually finally broke down last week. So if it does, right, we know this is the sideways continuation. If it does have followed through, it's very likely going to come back to the bottom of the channel. And Enphase has been leading, the broader sell-off of the market, where this is the sideways chart, right? It broke down and it has come into support though, right? So any bounce will probably go lower. So Enphase could be an early indicator of, sector weakness. All right, let's look at the next one, which is AMD. And again, this makes for an interesting chart because of where it's closed, right? It's either going to break out or break down this week. And we know that it is, right? It is opening at 72, is probably up 2% pre-market, right? So this is a very good starting point, right? And we know this is the downtrend line on AMD. So as long as AMD holds 72 today, that should, fuel a breakout run at least to 82. It does have a gap to fill at 83.42, right? But if it, fails to hold over 72 today, then again, kind of the same thing like rest of the market, right? If the dollar bounces and the yields continue to bounce, then a false breakout could lead to a lower test of demand before it's fuel for another rally. So it's kind of the thinking behind it, right? So let's kind of see, right? If it fails, we'll make for a nice move back to demand, right? You can trade it lower for puts. If it breaks out, then again, you can see it's barely any volume. Shelf should make for a nice breakout move, while talking about semis, I think it's useful to look at SMH, and SMH again, it did get rejected at the previous area, right? So again, SMH, either we're going to break out of this 230, 231 today and have a very nice move, or it's once again going to come test demand, right? Before it actually moves higher. So just something to keep an eye on and watch out for. But bigger picture, we do know it's broken downtrend, right? So let's see if it manages to stay above and break out on SMH. With that being said, let's look at the next one, which is Merck, right? Merck, again, a healthcare stock. We have discussed how this is at the top of a resistance channel. So this is on support, right? So as long as Merck holds 109, it can definitely retest 117 before it comes back down, right? That would kind of be the final leg higher. But if it does break this 109 support, then Merck is very well, likely going to sell off and come back to the bottom of this channel, at least down to 99. So it's kind of what I have for Merck, right? So let's look at the next one. And the last one that I have for this week is Shop. And again, this would again be either a breakout, right? If Shop breaks out of this 6-month, consolidation, it's very likely going to have a massive move to the upside. Or alternatively, right, if Shop rejects here, it's very likely going to retest demand, right? So it will be interesting to see. We are opening a little higher, right? So as long as it holds 41, 42 today, it should continue a breakout. But if it fails, right, it's very likely going to come back to, retest support before it goes higher. On the weekly chart on Shop, you'll be able to see that consolidated false breakdown. No, again, consolidation. We'll need to break out of this to, push higher. We'll make for a very nice long. But as long as it's in this range, as you can see here, it's at risk to break down, right? Come retest demand area. So Shop is another example, right? Wherein it could either break out or break down. And we know that on the bigger picture, it has broken out of this downtrend, right? And consolidated. So yeah, kind of wait and see if we're going to break out or break down here. So yeah, that's kind of all I have for this week's watch list, and it'll be interesting. One other chart I will go through is Tesla. Again, the reason for that is this is the channel holding a support, and it has, kind of gapped up this morning. And you can see we are retesting prior area of resistance. So if it can stay over 137, like it's kind of the same thing, right? If AMD stays over 72, Shop stays over 42, then Tesla will probably, with market momentum, stay over 137. If it does, then it has direct short. Yeah, it has an easy run up to 147. But if it fails and breaks this trend line, then again, like the other stocks, a false breakout usually leads to a hard sell-off. So it will be kind of interesting. I mean, it does have earnings coming up, so it won't be shocking if it does something like this, right? Where it pushes higher before earnings, before it sells off, or vice versa, right? If earnings were likely going to be good and MMs want to manipulate it, it would probably retest supply and do something like that. So kind of the two versions. I'm looking at Tesla, right? So yeah, let's kind of see what plays out. Thank you so much. Have a great day.